to our EDI webinar. My name is Vicky Yorke and I work as the Innovation Lead here at the Prince's Trust. So my journey started 8 years ago as a volunteer at the largest youth charity in the UK, where the Prince's Trust supports thousands of young people aged 11 to 30 to develop the skills and confidence they need to move into education, employment and training. And our vision is that every young person should have the chance to succeed. So this year's Youth Index, done in collaboration with Tesco, surveyed over 2,000 16 to 25-year-olds from across the UK. 60% of young people said that getting a new job feels impossible now because there is so much competition. A quarter of young people claim that the pandemic has destroyed their career aspirations. I believe in removing barriers from the recruitment experience so that even more talented young people from diverse backgrounds can progress into meaningful employment opportunities. My role as the Innovation Lead for the Trust, we design, test and embed new ways of supporting young people into work, which includes a programme called Get Hired that supported thousands of diverse young people to move into work. We encourage employers to focus on the potential of young people and take a very human approach towards recruitment through a programme that has been co-designed by young people and continually evolves based on the needs of those young people and businesses that need that talent. It's a role that takes you on a career roller coaster. It brings laughter, it brings tears of joy and frustration, but ultimately nothing is more rewarding than when you get to call a young person after a programme and 3 months into their sustained job opportunity and hear how happy they are and how much purpose their job has given them. It's an organisational effort and it takes a huge collaboration with our partners to support young people through COVID as we digitalised all of our programmes for young people. And it's something I'm truly blessed to be a part of. And recently we've been shortlisted for the Innovation Excellence Awards as our candidate experience has been recognised. Oh, it felt quite emotional. Okay, so today we're going to talk about how your company can look at inclusive hiring and attracting diverse talent, from the unconscious bias, removing CVs and innovating your recruitment process. The Prince's Trust are here for you. We can give you access to pre-screened diverse talent at our innovative Get Hired events. So let's take a look at our video. I love that. Pip just spotted you in the video there, so it feels like you're a friend of the Prince's Trust now. So great to see you. So for everybody watching, please feel free to put some feedback, put your comments in the chat. We'd love some support for our speakers, and we'd love to hear your questions and anything that's bothering you, so we can support you as best as we can. So that's enough from me. Let's hand over to our speakers. So Robyn, would you like to introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Robyn. I'm the Group Head of Talent for the JD Group. So part of my role is around talent acquisition, early careers and apprenticeship. So getting young people into careers with JD is massively important to me. Really excited to be part of today and hopefully pick up some new D&I strategies to build into our recruitment processes.
Thank you, Robyn. And Pip, over to you.
Hi, yeah, my name is Pip Jamieson. I'm the founder and CEO of The Dots. Forbes called us the next LinkedIn. We are a professional network that focuses on building a kind and inclusive environment for our community members. I started the platform because I'm very dyslexic, but fun fact for anyone who's listening, 35% of entrepreneurs are dyslexic and 40% of self-made millionaires. So you've got to start hiring dyslexics. But yeah, at the heart of everything we've done is our algorithm is actually based on kindness and positivity. So we have over 700,000 members, and do a lot of work supporting talent that reflects society. So I love men, by the way, but 68% of our community is female. And in terms of minority demographics, for example, we're nearly 20% Black. But we do a lot of work also supporting neurodiverse talent and socioeconomic movement. So you can't search for people by educational background on the dots. And I'm just really excited because, you know, diversity and building teams that reflect society is just better for everything. So I can't wait to pick up some tips as well.
Wow, I love that. Focusing on kindness and positivity. Amazing. And Lajay, do you want to introduce yourself too?
Hi guys, my name is Lajay Taylor. I'm currently a young ambassador for the Prince's Trust, and also I will be representing the voices of some of the young people.
Fabulous, thanks Lajay. So first question, so Pip, as the founder of an innovative recruitment platform, The Dot, why is it so important for companies to hire diverse talent?
Yeah, I mean, the stats just prove themselves now. You know, diversity is better for creativity, it's better for innovation, it's better for profitability. And when I think about diversity, I think about we've got to build teams that reflect society, and it's very intersectional. And in the end, it just enables just better growth, and it's the workforces of the future. I think it's worth saying, though, it can feel messy at the time for any hiring managers. So, for example, there's this brilliant research that took a team that was completely homogenous and got them to do a task, and a team that was fully reflected society and got them to do a task. Now, the team that was homogenous, they were patting themselves on the back. They thought they nailed the task. They thought it was brilliant. And when they did their self-assessment, they thought they did a great job. The team that reflected society actually marked themselves down. They were debating things, arguing things. They thought they didn't do a good job on the task. But actually, when the task was assessed, the team that was homogenous, results were terrible in comparison to the team that was fully diverse. So I think there is a messy reality of building teams that reflect society, but the outcomes are proven. I think the other thing that people forget a lot about building teams that reflect society is it definitely avoids companies putting their foot in the mouth. You know, if you're being challenged internally about the products you're building or the campaigns you're putting out, that's a really good thing for your business. And finally, it's actually really good for retention. So there's research by Creative Equals that found that teams that reflect society are 48% more likely to stay with a business because it's less competitive, right? We're all different, so we're actually augmenting each other as opposed to competing with each other.
Wow, that's super powerful. Yeah, I absolutely love that. And Robyn, how are you finding the government with Kickstart, and what has your involvement been with the trust?
So we've been working with the government since October on Kickstart, and we got the grant for over 1,000 roles, which is absolutely fantastic. So roles for young people, you know, 16 to 24 on universal credit. What we wanted to do is we wanted to do something a bit different early on with Kickstart, and we wanted to attract candidates from a range of diverse backgrounds, in particular candidates who, you know, had potential barriers to employment. They might have a disability, a criminal record, they might be from a disadvantaged background or without the educational opportunities that other young people who've been displaced by COVID and are in competition for these Kickstart roles have. So we've done a national rollout plan with the DWP and the job centres. And in effect, our roles go live in June, and all have over 1,000 are going to start. Young people are going to start with us in July across the country. And doing a national rollout plan has allowed us to give the work coaches time to work with these young people with potential barriers to employment, to sell a career with JD and a long-term career with JD, people who might not have applied for a job with us previously. We did a lot of work on removing barriers throughout the recruitment process. So one idea, and we put that into action, is removing CVs completely. So any young person answers 4 questions, and the questions are designed to get to know the young person as themselves and what are their interests, what do they like about JD. It might be that they're a customer, it might be that their family are customers. What do they like about us? What do they like about the job? What interests them? And we removed things like, you must have this experience, because we recognise that some of these young people, it's a first career opportunity with Kickstart, and we didn't want it to appear scary or intimidating. And I mean, we've been overwhelmed with the responses from young people. Our pilot group went live in April, and the quality of the young people and the passion and the drive, for us, it completely means more than having previous experience. And it's a learn that we're going to take into entry-level early careers opportunities as well, about how we kind of remove barriers from the recruitment process to attract diverse candidates. The Prince's Trust have been a key part in Kickstart. They do our employability and wraparound training. You know, they're the experts with young people. So spending time with young people on a one-to-one basis, offering webinars, offering relevant training, you know, we're hoping and we want to retain 100% of our Kickstart people, but if they want to go elsewhere post-placement, then this really gives them an opportunity to increase their skills while they're on placement as well.
Wow. I mean, I think we need to give you a collective round of applause. 1,000 placements all starting in one go across the country. That's an incredible effort. So yeah, it's amazing. So I think young people, get your applications in and go and try out getting a role at JD. Sounds phenomenal. Thank you. And then Lajay, as our young ambassador for the trust and representing that young person voice, can you tell us about your journey with the trust and how did you secure a job?
Okay, so like Robyn was saying, I was one of those young people at the time who did have a criminal record. And when you are applying for certain jobs and positions, there's that box that you always have to tick to ask if you have a criminal record or not. And obviously, it's kind of like it made me feel like I have to tick this box, and everybody's going to be prejudging me before I've even got the chance to even sit down and meet anybody. So I came onto the Prince's Trust. I saw that they had an event called Get Hired, and I applied for it, and it was an amazing opportunity for me because it enabled me to sit down in front of multiple employers and talk to them about my experiences or what I didn't have experience in, and then they could actually see me as a person, then actually just sit down and looking at a CV or looking at an application for me to employ the job or to get a job. And I think for me that was a big turnaround in my whole career, because it allowed an employer to give me the chance, which then built my confidence up in applying for other roles and moving up the career ladder.
Wow. And what's your role now, Lajay?
So currently I work for a local authority as a youth work apprentice, and I also work with children looked after and care leavers, as well as I have another job working with young people who live in care homes. So I'm a care home practitioner, so I get to work with them on a professional basis, which is a corporate way, and then I get to work with them interpersonally, obviously in their home. So I'm all about the youth as well, and helping them achieve to be better and overcome their barriers.
Amazing. So you've gone from that really authentic place of being a young person who needed that support to now giving back and helping young people. That's amazing. And what do you think the reality is now for young people, Lajay? Oh, it'll be back in a couple of seconds. Just a small technical one there. There we go. Lajay, you back with us?
Yeah, I'm back. Sorry about that.
Great. There we go. So, Lajay, just my question was around what's the reality now for young people?
I think the reality now for young people is very challenging. Obviously, COVID has messed with a lot of people's mental health.
Okay, I'm just we'll come back to Lajay afterwards. Pip, I just wondered if you had anything to add on that based on your experience of working with young people.
I'm back again.
Lajay, I've just brought in Pip, so I'm going to come back to you. Okay, give me a second.
No worries.
Yeah, I think the reality, I mean, we've seen such a massive increase in competition for young people for roles right now. So, you know, everything from like a 5 to even 30x amount of applications per role on the dots, which is a very scary place for young people to be in right now. For hiring managers on the call now, I'd really encourage, for example, trying to make their lives a little easier. So avoid asking for cover letters right now if you can, because young people are having to apply for maybe 100, 200 jobs before they even get an interview. So what I'd recommend, and actually it was interesting hearing what Robyn said about asking questions, instead of doing cover letters, I do the job application, do the first list, and then based on that list, for your say top 10 or 20, send them a list of questions they can then ask, instead of making all say 500 people have to do a cover letter, because it's very demoralizing once you've done 100 to 200 cover letters.
Yeah, absolutely. It's so powerful if you can ask the right questions to young people. And I think from our experience, it also helps them clarify in their mind, is this the right job for them? Which can also be a really helpful process. So Lajay, hopefully you're back with us now. Did you want to carry on about your experience for the reality of young people?
Oh, yeah, sorry. I was saying that my experience is that obviously they're finding it very challenging because of the mental health issues. And obviously, just being stuck at home. I was saying that I started a job from home in the middle of the pandemic, and it's not nice. You have to start virtually. You don't meet no one. You can't make those inter connections with your colleagues and those kind of things. So it's very hard for them. And if it's their first time applying for a job, it's a scary road. And especially if they have to start like virtually and stuff. So they are finding it hard. They're finding it scary. And because of how the pandemic has affected the world, they feel like there's actually not even a place for them to even fit in, because so much has actually changed.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you, Lajay. And I think we've all experienced that the huge change in terms of what's going on. So I just want to so Pip, with your incredible platform, The Dots, how do you go about attracting diverse talent? How would you encourage employers to attract diverse talent to their company? And how can companies change their hiring process? You've mentioned this a bit more around asking questions, so I just wanted to expand upon that a bit more, if that's okay.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, firstly, the talent's there, right? And it's never been easier to find amazing, diverse talent. I think the problem companies get into very old habits. They go through their traditional channels. I mean, for example, with LinkedIn, I mean, their algorithm is very much biased to your educational background. So if someone went to Oxford, they're going to come much higher in search results than if they didn't go to Oxford or didn't go to uni at all. So you've got to widen your net. And obviously I'm biased and say, you use The Dots, but Prince's Trust is there to help you as well. There is an abundance of amazing, diverse talent. You've just got to look in different places. And I think you have to be very conscious during that recruitment process of making sure that once you get to second interviews, the people that you're interviewing for second interviews reflect society, and that you haven't been lazy and just got that sort of samey kind of people that you would get if you just used a one channel, for example. I think other really important things to do with the hiring process is everyone's got to stop hiring for culture fit, because really culture fit means it's like someone like you that you're going to be happy taking down the pub. We need to look more to values fit. And really when it comes to young people, like putting loads of skills they need on a job description is just going to put diverse talent off, because they're just going to be scared that they can't fill all those skills. But really we all know that when it comes to hiring junior talent, what we're really looking for is people that are eager to learn. And that's the most important skill. And that's what you should really be assessing for. And as I said, avoid cover letters at the moment. And very much linked to that mental health issue, please get back to people if they apply to your role. You have no idea right now, if a junior is applying for 100 roles and not getting a response, how deeply demoralizing and effective on their mental health that can be. And I think when it comes to the full recruitment process, one of the best things to do is to hire by committee. And that means that you put together a hiring team that, again, reflects society, so that you're removing each other's biases. Because let's face it, we all have biases, right? So for example, I bias extroverts a lot in interviews, which is terrible. And I need introverts within the hiring team to kind of address my biases. But if you have a hiring committee that reflects society, then you're going to basically challenge each other's biases during the whole process and end up with much better talent. And then finally, from a neurodiverse perspective, hiring can be very challenging if, for example, you've got autism. So it's good to ask these days if there's any special needs for someone that's coming in for an interview, if they need interview questions in advance, because you're going to be missing out, for example, on incredible autistic talent, which are brilliant at digital skills, if you're not kind of reinventing how you do those interviews. So those are kind of a few tips.
I love that. I hope everybody had their pens and paper and was writing that down. No, it's really helpful. And Robyn, you know, Pip's talked us through some great tips for inclusive hiring. How do you create an inclusive hiring process at JD Group?
Well, as soon as she said the panel review, I was like, ooh, I really like that idea already. So I've already got one idea, which is great. But we're still in the very early stages of bringing in D&I strategies to our hiring process, because you're never going to be perfect at it. But as long as you're striving to improve and keep improving, that's really important. So we have a diversity and inclusion forum within the group. Again, from a cross-section of society, different diverse backgrounds, they have the answers and not me of what they would like to see, what they would like us to include in our hiring processes. And some of the actions we've done during the past year, we've removed names, addresses and education from our CVs. Unless from an education perspective, it's absolutely necessary for the role. But there are probably a very, very small percentage of our roles where a relevant degree is absolutely essential. So we remove it. And because of that, we're trying to remove the unconscious bias from the process of hiring and remove the whole, oh, I know that university, I know that address, that's a nice area, that's not a nice area. So we see actually a range of diverse candidates. What we've also done as well is we've looked to create a balanced scorecard in our interview process. So from that, our interview forms now have two sections. They have job-specific questions and scenarios, and then they have values-based section as well around working as part of a team and communication, and very generic questions. But what that does is each question is scored. So each candidate are asked exactly the same questions and scored on a level playing field. So it removes, and I hate it as well, Pip, it removes this culture fit, which is a horrendous thing, because ultimately human nature a lot of the time is you'll hire people like you because you'll think they'll be a fit. And actually, myself, I have a massively diverse team, and that, coming back to something Pip said previously, only creates better ideas, better suggestions. You know, I found working with our internal D&I forum invaluable in telling me what I need to do as somebody who hiring processes affect, because they're diverse. So it's we'll look into more improvements, and again, the panel has gone down on my list. So any suggestions that other people know of different businesses, I am all ears.
Great, I love that, and it really feeds into like the message I feel like that we've been on through COVID, where it's like, be kind to yourself and think and go on that journey. And it's the same with hiring diverse talent. It's like things are moving really quickly for the better. It's like, just start with something, whether that's asking more questions, getting rid of the covering letter, just do what you can now and then plan a strategy to make it better and better as things change and evolve. So I think that's a really good point. Thank you, Robyn. And Lajay, in your experience, how can employers ask questions that focus on the potential of young people in interviews?
Well, I think Pip and Robyn mentioned a very, very important factor. It's just like seeing the potential in these young people, because at the end of the day, they are the future. We're all going to get older, and we want these companies to continue and thrive. And we need to start looking at people below us. And instead of expecting them to come in with everything, I think more organizations need to be willing and take the time to start teaching people these skills and breaking it down, because they're only going to get better at it. For me, I'm not the best at admin. Admin is not the greatest thing for me. So when applying for jobs and you have to write a cover letter like Pip was saying, you're not going to get the best out of me. But if you put me in a room full of people, you'll probably see my personality and see how I interact with people and customers, and it'll probably be better. So it's just giving, in my experience, the chance to see what those young people are actually really about, what their passions are, what drives them, where they want to be, what they want to achieve, and just go from there.
Yeah, you're speaking my language, Lajay, when you talk about not being a fan of admin. I think that's why I do innovation. I look to any of my team's CVs. It's always got to be that conversation, but doing the pre-planning around asking the right questions. So then how can you extract the answers from them? So
I'd actually love to add something to that as well, because I think what you said was amazing. Like, the other thing you've got to remember about talent that has grafted their way through is they are natural perseverers. They are natural learners. And it was so interesting. We ran a program with Google called the Fast Track 50, where we fast tracked 18 to 25-year-olds who'd never been to uni and or first gen uni. And what was interesting, the mentors on that program, they had mentored like more privileged groups, and they were like, they were just whinging. They were just expecting everything to be handed on a silver platter. But this 50 was so driven and amazing and just like eager to learn and just hungry. And there's this actual innate quality that comes from hiring diverse talent that might have had to, they've already had to beat the odds, right? So the fact that they've already had to learn those skills, that if you might come from a more privileged background, you've not necessarily ever failed before. You might not have had to persevere through the hard times. So there's actually this beautiful skill that exists that we're not taking advantage of. You know, it's amazing. Sorry, that was me just getting very passionate about.
No, I love it. I love it. This is the place to share the passion. Absolutely. And Lajay, like how do you make young people feel comfortable and included in a recruitment process? What advice would you share?
I think, what advice would I share? If they're coming in, when you're recruiting, like Robyn and Pip mentioned, people applying, just first acknowledge their application. If they came to an interview and they was unsuccessful, at least acknowledge that, like, thank them for coming, give them some positive feedback, and maybe then give them something that they can improve on moving forward in their journey. Because it is definitely hard. And also, what was I going to say? I don't remember what I was going to say. I was going to say something else.
Don't worry, Lajay. We can come back to you when you remember. That's all good. And Robyn, I'm going to bring you in because I'm super excited about your 1,000 placements. Like, what was the kind of process? How are you looking about like retaining those 1,000 kind of young people, and how have you kind of promoted the importance of diversity and inclusion across the organisation?
Yep. So in terms of our numbers for Kickstart, we based our numbers on our headcount in terms of what we could support post-placement. So early doors, we said it's not just a 6-month placement. We want to retain 100% of these people if they want to stay with us. So the plan kind of post-placement is to move them into apprenticeships. We're very fortunate that we're a big apprenticeship levy payer. And we've got lots of apprenticeship standards in retail, in our distribution centre, and within our head office specialisms. You know, and coming back to Pip and her digital piece, there are lots of fantastic digital creative apprenticeship standards now that we can move these Kickstart people onto at the end of their placement as part of a permanent role offer. So that's, you know, so important to us. I forgot the last bit of the question, Vicky. Was it around inclusion?
Yeah, how important is it that the organisation is promoting diversity and inclusion?
Yeah, absolutely. So it's unbelievably important. As I've mentioned previously, we have an internal D&I forum, and it's made up of lots of different people, lots of different walks of life, and lots of different levels in the business as well. So it's not just management. And from that, I can't say the word invaluable enough, but it's driven all of our actions in terms of leadership, modelling, D&I behaviours. We've included compulsory D&I training now about appropriateness of behaviours, language, and that's been designed by people from diverse backgrounds. We also run a range of initiatives, such as we're doing something in Pride Week. We've done a massive initiative around mental health and well-being, and things like matching exercise, healthy eating, and promoting it internally within the business. So listening to your employees is probably the most invaluable thing that we've had from a D&I perspective, and that has everybody is passionate about it in our business because it comes from the top. Our chairman is so passionate about it and has said, what do we need to do to improve? You tell me and I will do it. That is my commitment to his employees. And because of that, everybody role models those behaviours in our leadership team.
I love that. And it's so important, isn't it, that everybody feels heard and feels like they're listened to create that supportive culture. I think that's really powerful.
And also as well, I haven't got the answers. I come from a privileged background, so I cannot write what the future needs to be. I need to be directed from people from ethnic minorities who have disabilities, who anything really from a diverse background. I need to be guided on that because I don't have the answers, and I'm self-aware enough to know I don't have the answers. And I think it's quite arrogant to assume that if you tick a box for D&I, that's enough. I think it's continuous improvement, and it's listening and it's learning from what other retailers do and what other businesses, listening to people like Lajay, and what do you want to see in a hiring process? That's more important than anything.
Yeah, no, definitely agree. I mean, at the Prince's Trust, we've got a transitioning at work toolkit, and it really enables managers to help their staff with transitioning at work so that everybody feels like they can bring their whole self to work and be really authentic. And also we've got like a religious leave policy that allows staff to change their bank holiday days off to other religious festivals such as Eid, which are two great initiatives that can really help with that inclusive culture and retaining talent. So Pip, just coming across to you, like, how can companies create an inclusive environment to retain young, diverse talent?
Yeah, weirdly these days, I think hiring diverse talent is the easier bit. It's just more accessible than ever before. I think the really, really hard bit is inclusion. And I mean, it's fine to go, oh, we want to hire diverse talent, but if you haven't created an environment where that talent flourishes, sorry, that's my dyslexia. If you haven't created an environment where that talent flourishes, you're just going to churn. And so I think like inclusion's like the most important thing to get right. Firstly, you don't know what you don't know, right? So I love what Robyn was saying about continuous learning. I think the most valuable way to find out how to improve your business is to actually ask the people in the business. And the best way I've seen that done is via anonymous surveys to really work out what is going on behind the scenes. What are people not finding comfortable, what they are. And, as soon as you know the problems, you can work together to come up with solutions. But if you just sort of bury your head in the sand, you're never going to really know. And I think also it's really important to understand the makeup of your business. And really, diversity is intersectional, and also there are a lot of hidden diversities like neurodiversity or sexuality. And I think it is good to get a feel of how diverse is your workforce, so that you can really make improvements moving forward. And socioeconomic movement is another thing. There's lots of great white guys out there who've grafted their way through and might never have been to uni or first gen uni. So I think it's important to know your demographic. Where do you need to improve? But then also listen to your team. And there's brilliant organizations out there that can do this for you and come into your organization and kind of do an audit and recommend ways for you to improve.
Yeah, love that. And I think back to what Robyn mentioned, I just think that's amazing that you've introduced compulsory D&I training, because I think, as your point, like, you don't know what you don't know. It does bring self-awareness, because it's like you need to understand what minority groups are feeling and what challenges they're up against, so you can really understand how you can make a difference to support them. So I love the idea that that's...
And also, and also as well, it's about addressing the uncomfortable conversations for us. We want to do that because that's how you learn as well. It's about, and we did anonymous feedback as well, Pip, as well as the forum, but it's about addressing that uncomfortable situation, and because it's quite sobering to hear it as well. It's quite upsetting because you feel you've done people a disservice when it's negative feedback, and you're like, oh my God, really, is that, and the feedback was, a real mixed bag, and loads of it was all very constructive, let's improve, which was fantastic. But, with everything, you feel like unless it's highlighted to you that, oh, we must be doing the right thing. So it's that having the uncomfortable conversations as well and feeling confident to do that.
Yeah. And it takes bravery. It takes bravery to do that as an organisation. It takes bravery to do it as an individual. So to do it as an organisation, like it's great, but then really powerful things can come from it, where you can create volume opportunities for young people, and you can be confident then that you're going to support them in the right way. So I think that's
And just I forgot to mention one thing as well about people initiatives. So a lot of people initiatives, whether it be wellbeing initiatives, engagement initiatives, are very much focused on what you think everybody wants, but young people might want something differently. So, for example, we're working with the Salford Foundation on a Money Matters programme. So it's about giving young people financial training about managing a budget, managing finances with a tight, wage effectively. More money, less money coming in than is going out. So we found that has received better feedback from young people. And actually it's offered to the business, but young people are taking that up, whereas other initiatives might be taken up by slightly older people. So it's not a one size fits all as well. It's been a key learn for us.
Yeah, no, that's great. And Lajay, how would you encourage employers to support young people?
I would encourage them by just more inclusion, like we're saying. So for me, it could be something like, I feel we should bring back work experience. Because it gives young people the opportunity to go into the field, or their desired field, and see what it's about, see what kind of colleagues that they could be working with alongside, what they could potentially learn, the atmosphere, the dress code, all these kind of little things I think could help make them feel included. And also just if they're already in there, so I know we're talking about like hiring, but what the ones that are already in there, like include them in the interview process, include them in the meetings, include them in all these difficult, challenging conversations that have to be had, because like I said, eventually they're going to be the people that are going to be taking on these conversations and having these challenges to face. So I feel like just making them more involved, even in the little things, which then becomes a bigger thing.
And so Lajay, I'm going to dig a bit deeper on that then. So what could organisations do you think, to include young people in the difficult conversations?
I think generally just general inclusion. Shadowing works a lot. Mentoring, like one-to-one mentoring. Even like I said, even if with the work experience thing, if you have them in for a day, just bring them around the office, see how things work. I think generally just more inclusion. Like everybody said, you don't know what you don't know. And if these young people have never had a job before, or they don't know how it operates, it's nice for them to come in and see how it works, or the structure that's based behind these things.
Yeah, definitely. And what do your friends think about working in a corporate organisation?
My friends, or me working in a corporate organisation, or
yeah, or just the perception of working in a corporate organisation.
I think even me working as a corporate in a corporate environment myself, being the first time I'm working, it's still very new to me. All these meetings that have to be had, the terminology that get used. A lot of big corporate organizations use a lot of acronyms. Sometimes I don't even know what it means. I don't even know what all of them mean. So just all of these little things that make them feel included, and the processes and the policies, and there's a lot of stuff behind applying for a job. And also just the cause and effect. What do you want to gain out of it? Why you're hiring these young people? Are you doing it for yourself? Are you doing it for them? Are you doing it for the organization? Like, what's the reason behind you doing the things that you're doing to help the company or the organization or the young person?
Yeah, I saw a lot of smiling faces when everybody was saying about the acronyms used in a corporate, and it's such a good point. Like, you can get institutionalized with actually this is how we do things as an organization, whereas when you're new to that environment, new to the situation, particularly now we're returning back to face, it's like, how do you even make the atmosphere inclusive for young people, so it is less intimidating? Pitbull, Robyn, how, in your experience, like, how can you make an environment less intimidating for a young person, particularly when they're starting out in work? Any thoughts?
I'll let you go first.
I think, again, it's listening. But I love what Lajay was saying in terms of shadowing and work experience and mentoring, right? I think something we've definitely lost during COVID is shadowing opportunities. And I've seen so many young people really benefit from that. And it's a really easy thing for us to do, right? So when we start going back into the office, I mean, if there's one thing takeout that anyone on this call can do, why don't you commit this year to giving one young person a shadowing opportunity so that they can see what it's like to work in an office before they have to go into that real kind of interview process. So everyone can just do a bit. If we all help one person, do 10 if you can, but if you can help one person, I mean, that will just help them for that first initial, scare of getting in. And I think also it's really important that the thing that kind of retains people in a workplace is basically down to three. They've got three really core contacts, right? They have someone they go for strategic support. They have someone they go through for operational support, which is usually their boss, but they also have a peer in that they can go to for kind of emotional support. And I think it's making sure that when you're bringing someone into the office, that they're meeting the people the younger people around them, and that you're making sure that they're happy with peers, and that they've also built up a kind of a social network within your organization so they can support each other.
Yeah, I love that. Like, something I personally, like with a mentor and with a buddy, I found it hugely kind of powerful and just helpful, because there's certain things you want to talk to a line manager about, but that kind of peer-to-peer for the emotional support is really valid. I just want to open it back out to Robyn or Lajay to got anything else to add.
I mean, coming back to what Lajay said, I don't understand the acronyms now, even after 10 years in an office, over 10 years in an office. So, but yeah, in terms of work experience, just one thing to say is that the government are actually doing 8-week work placements and supporting businesses to create work experience opportunities in different specialisms, offices, etc. And we're actually looking to trial it. Across digital, marketing, merchandising, buying, as a way of these young people seeing what the environment is like, and again, a non-threatening, non-intimidating environment for them. So that's something that you can get involved with as well. But coming back to what Vicky said about having and Pip as well, about having a buddy, a mentor, as part of our induction process, we ask managers to signpost who that buddy could be, and that's somebody who is on the same level as them, because you don't always feel comfortable going to your boss about everything, or asking, the questions you think might be a stupid question. It's not a stupid question, but you might have asked 50 questions that day because you're onboarding. So it's about having that person to go, oh, do you know how we do this? Or do you know where the kitchen is, or etc. Having that person to kind of be there to support them as well, again, is invaluable in onboarding young people.
Yeah, and I was going to say, like with the shadowing, I think something that is also quite important to remember is that can carry on throughout your whole career, right? It doesn't just need to be, you need to have it in the beginning to help you move into work, but it's also important, if you want to retain that diverse talent, to keep working with them so you can progress them through the organization. So something that we found in our team is actually they might get the strategic support from the line manager or the ops support, but actually go and shadow different departments, go and see how different departments operate, so you can keep learning to help retain that talent in the business as well.
Yeah, and something I forgot actually that we've done, because I saw one of the comments that came up, obviously shadowing is more challenging in the virtual world. What we've done, which has been incredible through this kind of COVID period, we set up something called Corona Buddy catch-ups each week. So at the beginning of the week, everyone gets buddied up with someone else on the team. And we've done this since March last year. And it's been amazing because, funnily enough, actually, in an office environment, cliques form, and it's sometimes quite hard to get in a clique. And what I found with like the one-to-one catch-ups my team have every week, because it's with a different person, these beautiful friendships, and it's not about chatting about work. It's a really very much a kind of a check-in social catch-up. They become so close with a load of people they wouldn't necessarily have become close with. So that's a lovely thing to do during COVID. And actually, whenever we onboard a new person, they on their first week have a COVID buddy catch up with a huge variety of people. So maybe 20 that week to get to know more people across the organization. So it doesn't necessarily not work in a virtual world. But yeah, it just works in terms of like avoiding the cliques and giving everyone accessibility to everyone, which is great.
Yeah, it's what like the water cooler moments or something. Is that there where it's you just miss the bumping into people? It's quite remote and one-to-one. Lajay, you mentioned that you've joined your organisation during COVID. Like, how have you found that, or what's been a particularly kind of inclusive moment for you where you've met other people?
It was very difficult. It was challenging. And especially when you start an organization, you've got all these different teams just coming and saying, hi, I do this. It's a lot of information to retain. But I guess eventually over time, you start communicating, you just build those relationships. But I think I learned a skill that most people never got to learn, or they had to learn it after. Because I started that way, it was just my new norm. So even doing this live seminar right now, it's a new norm for me. Whereas people who's been in an organization for 10 years, automatically working remotely, was probably a shock to their system. So I guess it's just being able to adapt to all situations and circumstances. And then you just learn another skill set and just being able to utilize that throughout your life moving forward.
Yeah, and you know, you're way more agile and used to that. I was going to be like, yeah, guilty, having to adjust to the new way of working. So yeah, no, thank you, Lajay. So we've had some. I mean, thank you to everybody in the audience who's been sending their questions in the chat on Eventbrite. We're now going to hand over, put the power in the audience hands, where I've got some questions come through. So. Pip, I'm going to come to you first. So we've had a question in that's from one of the audience members who says, I specifically recruit for the creative industry, focusing on designers and creatives. I find it so frustrating looking through LinkedIn, as it's always the same people that come up. My new outlets for finding creatives and designers are on other boards like the Dots and Twitter. Can you recommend where else I could look and advertise?
It's great you're using the Dots. Yeah, I mean, where else? Just, it's great you're starting to move away from LinkedIn. I think that's the main point right now, is like you do just get the same, and we're just perpetuating that homogenous hiring processes. Yeah, I mean, I don't know where else.
We should reframe it to the top tips for getting for recruiting designers and creatives. Because does the interview process always work, or how could they be more effective at finding the right designer?
I think top tips is removing the bias of what school they went to. That still very much exists in the creative industries. I mean, stop getting recommendations from the top unis. That again perpetuates the bias. Focus on the work, not on the individual and where they went to school. And I think that's really the key to. I mean, it's a key to diverse talent in general. I mean, and you know, really look for that kind of passion and eagerness to learn. And I think a great way to build relationships with not just creative talent but talent more broadly is to start mentoring, right? And sort of start mentoring a plethora of, you know, maybe design talent that you don't think is quite ready yet, but start mentoring them, because in a year's time, I mean, they could be the rock stars, and then, you know, the first person they'll probably want to work for is you. So I think that kind of building a network via mentoring is just amazing. And actually, if you're mentoring diverse talent, they'll also have a brilliant network that you could tap into, right? So I think giving back will end up kind of coming back tenfold because of the network you're tapping into of the people that you're mentoring.
I love that. It's almost like it's reverse mentoring, isn't it? Where you go in being like, I can share lots of experience and knowledge with you, and it's like, oh, I've actually learned more myself. No, that's really powerful. Thank you. And Robyn, a question's come in for you. So I'm interested in finding out more about positive discrimination, or at least how to legally advertise for a genuine occupational requirement, e.g. A female. Oh, it's just on mute, Robyn.
Sorry, what I would say about technical issues, what I would say about this is, in terms of positive discrimination, if you are an equal opportunities employer and you look at creating inclusion in your hiring processes, for example, considering part-time people for a full-time position, considering flexibility in the hiring process, adjustments, for example, you might have somebody come for a front of house job, but actually they might have a neurological such as Asperger's or autism, but actually the methodical nature of how they work can be totally appropriate for another area. So being flexible in that process means that you wouldn't have to legally advertise for a particular diversity, because people would apply for your roles because they feel the language would fit them from a diverse background. There's a lot of research as well around, particularly with women, around how some language can be off-putting on a job description, such as driven. There's research that they kind of that women in particular switch off from it, because they think, that it's going to be, oh, I've got a child, I can't do that. And it's the same for men as well. So they avoid jobs which focus on being driven or being a team player or, anything to get the job done. They avoid that because they think they can't live up to that expectation. So if you're an equal opportunities employer, I don't think you need to positively discriminate on an application. And I don't think it's right either from a personal perspective. I think everybody should look at your jobs and go, JD is an employer of choice. Therefore, I will apply for a job at JD because I feel it can support me.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point. Like really looking at the language in your job description and getting your EDI committee or the panel and people who are different to yourself to really look at it and review it and get that different perspective. So thank you so much. So Lajay, hold on. Questions are coming through. I'm trying to keep up with the script. So when we talk about diversity, does this refer to age too? So we've had a question come in. If a woman over 40 wants to start a new stage in her life after taking care of her family at home, she wants to go to college with no experience, would she have the same opportunities as a young person coming out of college? It's a bit of an open question there, I guess, to the audience.
I think that diversity is just across the board, to be honest. It doesn't matter the age, the location, the set, or the experience, because she could be 40 and had a whole child or whole years looking after children, but she could still have the same skills because of looking after those children that the young person may have or may not have. And I think we should stop looking at ages and ages and backgrounds as a barrier. A person is a person, and an experience is an experience, and an opportunity is an opportunity. Some people who might be older who wants to work in a younger environment for themselves to actually feel younger, and for their own mental well-being. Do you know what I mean? They don't want to be old just because they're old. They're working in an old place. I feel like we should open it up, and then when you open it up, say for instance, if we're talking about JD, and there is someone that's there that's 40, and there is someone that's maybe 50 or 20, they get to learn experiences from their colleagues now, as well as attracting those kind of new customers into your workplace as well, because you don't just go, that's just an environment for young people. No, it's an environment for everybody, and the world is an environment for everybody, so everybody should be included no matter what age, sex or background.
Yeah, I love that, Lajay. It reminds me of one of the Prince's Trust mentors who I met, and she mentioned that working at the Prince's Trust was the best moisturizer she could ever have because it kept her so youthful and energetic, and that's always stayed with me. So that's all of our questions now. So I'm just going to ask the panelists, what's your one key measurable action today that businesses can take away to help drive change to enable more employment opportunities for young people? So Pip, I'm going to come to you first.
I can't do just one. I'm so sorry. I think actionable things tomorrow. Don't ask for cover letters anymore. Get back to applications, because you've really got to consider mental health right now of everyone. And thirdly, just give back. So if you do anything this year, mentor, shadow, help the next generation, because there aren't enough roles right now. So obviously this is all about hiring, definitely hire diverse talent, but also give back, I think is really important right now.
Yeah, love that. Gives you goosebumps, isn't it? The giving back, it's really important. And Robyn, how about for you? What's your one key action businesses can take away?
Keep on listening to your employees. And if you're not listening to them, listen to them. And also as well, we do have a responsibility to young people, particularly with the pandemic, to create opportunities where we can, and to do that justice, because coming back to something that was said earlier, they are the future of businesses. We're not going to be around forever, and these people will be running your businesses. And that experience at the early stages will live with them forever, and they'll take that with them. So it's really important.
Love that. Thank you so much. And Lajay, what's the key action from you?
The key action for me will be get your organisation signed up to the Prince's Trust so you can start getting on the Get Hired program and start having face-to-face interviews and getting to know the young people that way, and then getting them in at a different route and building that relationship and the confidence in the young people. So that's what I would say.
Amazing. And I think to chuck one in there, I think today what I found so powerful is, we've got Pip, who's the founder of the Dots, who really is the expert around that kind of how to recruit and diverse talent in the creative industries, and has had huge successes. We've got JD, who are completely, 1,000 placements for young people that are starting in July and really taking seriously EDI within their organisation and really leading the way. And then at the Trust, we're a youth charity, and we're here to do the pre-employability training, and we're all collectively, if we can keep working together with the support of the audience, we can help as many young people as we can. So everybody, thank you so much all for your time. Thank you to our panelists. Audience members, if you've enjoyed our panelists, please send them some love and some positive feedback in the chat. I'm sure they'd love to hear from you. And then just really, there's so many opportunities out there, and we can all do our bit to create even more, whether that's a shadowing opportunity, mentorship, getting involved with the Kickstart program, the Dots or Get Hired. We all need to come together to help youth. So if you want to get involved with the Trust, we're going to put some email addresses in the chat. We'll put a link to JD, so you can check out their website as well, just in case you're not familiar with it, and the same with Dots. We'll also put a slide up if you want to know more around the Kickstart scheme, whether you're a big business with hundreds or thousands of vacancies, or you're a small business that might just have 3 vacancies. There is funding available for you to support young people. And then lastly, I'd just like to thank the Future Workforce Fund, which is a groundbreaking 2-year initiative that tests innovative ways of delivering support for young people across Greater Manchester, who help us with our funding. So thank you to all the audience for your questions. Thank you to our panelists for giving us their time. And as I said, we can achieve great things for young people when we all work together. So thank you so much for your time. Cheers, everybody.